Hi, I'm Sarah Foglesong with Prescott College's Center for Nature and Place, as well as Pathfinder Ranch and AEOE. Can't decide which hat I want to wear for this, so I'm going to wear all of them. This workshop is called Learning to Love, Developmentally Appropriate Environmental Education for Young Children. And in this video, I'll be chatting with you about what makes young children unique and how we can design EE experiences that are developmentally appropriate for them. So when I'm talking about young children, I'm referring to infants and toddlers through children in third grade or birth to 8 years old. What's interesting about this age group is that this is when we see the greatest amount of brain development. In fact, it's about 90% of brain development that takes place by the age of 5. And with that amount of development happening in such a short period, it's not surprising that there's a lot of variation among individuals in regards to exactly when and how development takes place. In general, though, we know that young children share some traits that can help us make decisions about when we're designing EE experiences for them. So first, young children are very concrete thinkers. This means that they're really good about thinking of things that they've personally seen and experienced, but they're not so good at understanding information about concepts, places, and things that they don't have any direct experience with. Next, children are generally pretty egocentric. And that doesn't mean that they're selfish by nature or that young children are incapable of empathy. Rather, it means that empathy, compassion, and perspective taking are skills and patterns of thinking that they're actively wiring into their brain. We're pretty sure now that these skills of empathy, compassion, perspective taking are survival skills that we've learned as a human species, as a very social species. But they're still skills that we have to strengthen and perfect throughout our lifetimes, and especially when we're young children and our brains are still developing. So those young children, when they're behaving egocentrically, it's really just because they don't yet know how to step into another person's shoes or how to step into another being's shoes. And so one of the things we get to teach them in developmentally appropriate EE is how to do that. But first, our last general trait for young children, at least for the purposes of this video, is that young children's motor skills are still developing. And this means that they have to move around. As I mentioned before, there's going to be a little bit of variation here. And some young children will be more amenable to sitting still. I was definitely one of those young children, though looking back, I probably should have moved around more. I don't have the best coordination, and I sometimes wonder if it's because I sat still so much as a young child. But overall, they need to be moving their bodies. They need to do it often, and they need to do it in a variety of ways. So what does all of that mean for EE? Well, it means that environmental education experiences that are developmentally appropriate for the majority of young children are going to focus on everyday environments, plants, and animals that children experience in their day-to-day lives. And when these experiences are taking place in novel locations, say you're running an environmental education program for young children at a national park, they don't live there. They're visiting for the day, the weekend, the week. This means helping young children to experience that new environment in a way that facilitates connections to their lives at home. And this all helps to keep the content concrete. It also means that we take advantage of those developing skills in empathy, compassion, and perspective taking to help young children extend those patterns of thinking to the more than human world. We can ask questions like, how do you think those ants will feel if you smashed their home? How would you feel? And some folks may see this type of questioning as leaning too far into the direction of anthropomorphizing. And sometimes that can feel uncomfortable for some of us as educators, and that's okay. It's admittedly a fine line to walk at first. Just know that studies are starting to show that this step of learning to empathize with the natural world is actually a really important early step in a person's developing eco-literacy. And finally, this all means that when we plan activities and environmental education experience, we need to plan those activities in places that allow for small bodies to move around. And we sequence those activities so that we never expect young children to sit still for more than 10 minutes at a time. And honestly, for some of our youngest friends, 10 minutes might even be too much. For toddlers, even through 4- and 5-year-olds, oftentimes we're looking at something closer to 5 minutes at a time. And we break down any content we need to deliver into little 5-minute increments, or we find a way to deliver it while they're playing, while they're moving around and exploring. And that's it. You just completed your crash course in developmentally appropriate environmental education for young children. I hope you're leaving with some new ideas to ponder and are excited to design some environmental education experiences for our youngest friends. I appreciate you joining me for this, and if you have any questions or would like to brainstorm ideas for environmental education for young children, please feel free to contact me. My contact information, my email address is there on the screen. I would love to hear from you all, and I appreciate you bearing with me in this video creation experiment. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.